Hey, how's everybody doing? This is part two to the Oldsmobile build, and the other day I went ahead and put the oil pump together, and it completely slipped my mind to pick up the camera and, show what it looked like when it was taken apart and how everything works, but it's really simple. Basically, this rod right here just gets turned by your cam gear, and it spins the pump like so. You can hear it, you know. Basically, all that's to this thing. Now, there's a spring in here. I didn't take the spring out. I didn't do anything with it. What I did was I took the pickup tube off. I chem dipped it. I cleaned it up in the parts washer and I disassembled it. And really, all you got to do to disassemble it is pull these four bolts out and take this cover off. And when you take the cover off, there's going to be two gears in there. That one gear is attached to the shaft up top. That's the top of the one gear. That's the driving gear. And all it does is it rotates against a dummy gear that sits on its own rod and does its own thing. Maybe you can see them in there. There you go, you can see the gears in there. And maybe you can see them from up top. No, you can't really see it. There you go. But since I didn't have the camera out and videotape the shit for you guys, what I did was I found some interesting pictures on Google Images. So I'll stick them in there so you can get an idea of what the gears look like. But really, it's a foolproof system. You can't fuck this shit up. Um, I don't think it really matters if you put the dummy gear in, backwards from how it came out. But if you look at the ends of the gears, the one that hits this cover and then the ones that ride up against the top, you'll see even wear marks with the ones that ride on the bottom. Like the wear mark on this one will match the wear mark on this one, whereas the top side of the gear has no wear at all because it doesn't rest on anything. So if you do mix the gear up, you can look at the wear mark and just face it back with this one. And I did go ahead and use a different oil pickup. I took this one out of the 350 in the back room because I cleaned the other one up. Well, let me start off by saying I dug nylon out of both of these, this one and that one. But this one had no sludge in it, and it was clean, and, banging around on it and shaking it around, I can get all the nylon out. And that was chem dipped, and that was ran through the parts washer, and you can see how it cleaned up really nicely inside. Now, I did the same thing with the other one. I chem dipped this one and used the parts washer on it. And you can see it didn't clean up half as nice. There's still sludge and shit down in that screen. And there's still nylon in this because in the back there's so much sludge that's holding the nylon in there that I actually pried the casing open a little bit. If you want to compare it against that one, how that one's supposed to be flat. And I tried digging more shit out of there. I couldn't get it all out, and I figured the other motor's gonna be sitting for a while. I'll just get a new one when that time comes. But you can still see some of the shit that's in there. Plastic and sludge and grease. Granted, I could probably chem dip this 45 times, but why waste that time and effort? That's getting thrown out. And this is the one that's going to be getting used. And the other thing is, I wasn't sure, I couldn't remember, but there's no gasket that goes in between this pump and the bearing cap that it goes onto. I didn't remember scraping any gasket off of here or off the cap, for one. And two, there was no gasket that would fit this in my gasket kit. But being skeptical, I still looked it up on the computer, and it turns out there is no gasket, so when you go to put this back together, don't sweat it, no gasket, just make sure the mating surface is clean and you'll be good to go. But, here, I'm going to go over to the pictures from Google, and you guys can check those out for a minute, and then we'll go with the next step of this motor. Alright, let me explain what's going on here. I'm gonna put the fuel pump on. Yeah, I had to touch up paint. Don't mind the overspray on the chain. I'm gonna put the fuel pump in, and still gonna put the oil pump on, but I'm gonna save that for last because I don't want to flip the motor over yet. I'd rather put the timing chain cover on first before the oil pan goes on. So what I'll do is I'll put the face of the motor together, flip it over, put the oil pump on, lay out the oil pan gaskets, and put that on. It's just easier to seat the pan against the cover second. Don't forget to put your oil sling on before you put the cover on. But anyway, like I was saying, I'm putting the fuel pump on. And this is sticking up in the way right now. So I can put the fuel pump on, it's just going to be a pain in the ass. So if you want to make life easy on you, just take the crank and spin it over a couple times and get this so it faces down. Then your fuel pump will slide right on in. And you can bolt it on up and then spin the motor back to top dead center with this facing back up, and you'll be good to go. Alright, the fuel pump's on, and I ended up spinning it back to where it belonged. And like I said before, don't forget to put this slinger back on. And one thing I had removed out of this block to get it hot tanked that I don't think you should forget to put back in is this little baffle right here. That's where the oil inlet goes. I was thinking about leaving it out because it limits to how fast you can pour your oil in, and if you pour it too fast it'll spew over the funnel. And I guess it's to keep oil from getting shot up the tube, but I don't see how oil going in this direction can get up the tube, because the neck where it goes up is all the way up in here. The oil would have to come up, find its way that way, and then up. But I looked online briefly, and people were saying they had oil leakage, and other people were asking, well, did you forget to put the baffle in? So I said, fuck it, and I put it back in anyway. The only thing it's going to do to me is limit how fast I can add oil to the engine, but who cares? But I'm going to go ahead and put the face of the motor on, and you'll probably, next time you see it, the engine will be upside down. So see you then. Okay, I lied, so you guys get to see it right side up one more time. But who thought I was crazy enough to use the old water pump? Relax, I'm not using the old water pump. I just used it as a spacer for the bolts. When I put the timing cover on, I used silicone with the gaskets, and I needed the water pump to draw it tight against up top. And if I would have screwed it on without the water pump, I mean, that thickness right there, the bolt would have went in too far and it would have bottomed out. So once this dries up, I'll take that piece of shit off, flip it over, do what I got to do under there, and then put the fresh water pump on.
Time to engage your oil pan. Put a little bit of sealer and all the circumference of the seals go. Make sure you got a liberal amount. You don't want to find out get a leak after. Then you have a serious problem. It's called being pissed off. So, take your time and do it right the first time. That's all you can do.
The oil pan gasket to go under this front seal.
They want this other one on the top.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Well, the front one gets tucked under like that.
Well, I'm not going on top. I'm putting silicone.
This is stupid. I really think they should use a one-piece seal.
Well, it is what it is.
Well, this is going to be the last video, or the last part of this video, I should say. Let me turn on this radio, hold on. It's going to be the last part of this video, of the assembly, because everything else that needs to go on here is still on the other car, like the carb and all that good stuff. And I actually don't have... I have 10 valve cover screws, so I have enough to do one. And I gotta steal all the 10 off of the 307, which is 5 in each valve cover on that engine, so can't put them on yet. The intake is on. And that wasn't included in the video, unfortunately. It just... When you put the intake on, really what you gotta look out for is you gotta put silicone around the water jackets on both sides of the valley pan gasket. But other than that, you should be good to go. Of course, you gotta run silicone here too. You can either use the gasket that they give you in the set, or you can just run a thick coat of silicone. But that's about it for this update. And you can see the engine completed when it goes into the other car, so stay tuned for following videos. But like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think of how this thing's looking so far, and what you think it'll be like when it goes in that wagon. Oh yeah, and this is just resting in here. I had that out. If anybody's interested in how to get these out, what I did was I just took the cap off and I knocked it side to side and front to back with a mallet for about 10-15 minutes, and I gently wiggled it out of there without distorting it or destroying it. You can see there's no damage. So cool. See you guys later, and stay tuned for the wagon build. Later.